Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom.
And welcome to another new moon, new month. Tonight's class is called for Service. We're going to go ahead and jump right into the class. We're going to begin in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and we're going to read verses 17 through 24. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 17 through 24. Page 1217. Starting at verse 17.
Okay. But as Elohim has distributed to every man, as the Adonai hath called everyone, so let him walk. And so ordain I in all churches.
Verse 17, but as Elohim has distributed to every man, as the Adonai has called everyone, so let him walk. There's a whole lot being said right there in that verse. But as Elohim has distributed, that means the gifts, the abilities that he's given to you. And then the Adonai calls you, so let him walk. Walk in the way that you were called, along with the abilities and talents that was given to you by Yahweh. But a lot of us get into wanting to hold back this or hold back that. The gifts were given to us for servitude, not for our own pleasures. When you're holding back your gifts from servitude and Yahweh's blessing you, then you're serving yourself of him. Go ahead.
Is any man called being circumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. Is any man called in uncircumcision? Let him not be circumcised.
And that also, if you look at that and you're not understanding, there's two things being said there. We understand who the circumcised are, right? And we understand who the uncircumcised is. So you talking about Israel, and then you talking about the Gentiles. But the difference is any called in uncircumcision? Why would he say, let him not be circumcised? Because when you're circumcised, you put a heavier weight on yourself. You're now a debtor to do all the law. Go ahead.
Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing, but the keeping of the commandments of Elohim. Let every man abide in the same calling wherein he was called.
So do we stop and look at when we're called into this truth? Or are we just happy to say, oh, I'm a Hebrew Israelite? Is that discovery all that it is? And at that point, you're just good with knowing that? Is that the end all, be all, just to know that you're a Hebrew Israelite? There has to be something about you that you were called into this faith. Just like we sit around here, we've got many people, this military background. I sit and I watch and I ask, what is going to be the purpose? Because I know it says we're going to have to leave out of here by ships. All these Navy brothers might have to explain to me, hey man, at certain points you don't go out on the deck. This is that. But we all have to look at the abilities given to us. What is the purpose? Do we come in and just be contented with being seat dwellers? Or do we understand that we are servants? Are you putting yourself up for servitude? Are you ready to serve when you come through the door? Or are you just happy in serving yourself of Yahweh? Go ahead.
Art thou called, being a servant? Care not for it, but if thou mayest be made free, use it rather.
Why would you not care for being called a servant of Yahweh? That's an interesting statement. Are you called being a servant? Question. Care not for it? Why would you not care for being called as a servant of Yahweh? That's a question we would all have to ask ourselves. I hear Christian people say it all the time. Oh, I know what he's done for me. I know what he's doing for me. And I always come right back with the same question. What you doing for him? And him being whatever God you serve. Because Satan says, bow down and worship me. He's still expecting something from his servants. So if you can praise about what your God is doing for you, my question is, what are you doing for him? Is it all take and no give? Go ahead.
For he that is called in Yahweh, being a servant, is Yahweh's freeman. Likewise also he that is called being free in the Mashiach's is the Mashiach's servant. Ye are bought with a price. Be not ye the servants of men. Brethren, let every man wherein he is called, therein abide with Elohim.
Here's the problem. We are so happy to be the servants of men that we don't see it. We will do anything for a paycheck. And I mean the monetary paycheck, not the paycheck of everlasting life in the kingdom. People will jump out of bed and walk bent over with their back hurting them and still go to work. But you let it be something to come to the sanctuary and do some work. Man, hey, I got a back pain. I ain't going to be able to make it. Why? Because you don't see this monetary gain at this point? Well, Yahweh says the earth and the fullness of is mine. So all the money, all the gold, all the silver, everything you killing yourself for already belongs to him. We will make all kinds of excuses for the regular 9-to-5 job to be there. But when it comes to this, it's haphazard. I've asked a couple of people this question. What if Yahweh was a sometime El? What if he was a part-time El? What if he was like us? I don't feel like being there for you right now, Mishael. I'll come back in a few weeks. I don't feel like helping you out right now, Kish. I'll see you in a month or two. That's how we deal with him. We allow people to also let us deal with our Elohim that way. We'll allow family members. We'll allow friends. We'll even allow strangers to make us come up with some excuse of not being where we need to be. Hey, but we'll go all out to be at a shindig or a party. We're servants. We've been called to service. Right now, most of us don't know what type of servitude we're going to end up doing. But start doing something. I can honestly tell you, when I started this walk, I was happy being a part of open mic. First Saturday of every month. Get up on stage, perform. But at the end of the day, was that Yahweh's glory or my glory? It came down eventually, end up in the media department. Going down to people's TV, doing programs. Ending up on programs. Doing documentaries. When Priest Esaac first started this, he was doing both, reading, teaching, all of that himself. When is you ready to read? Yeah, I guess so. But at times you see how it all changes. He even says himself all the time, I don't know what I'm going to end up doing in the kingdom. But do we wait till then to start doing something? These might be the works for promotion. You don't just show up on a job every day and they say, you know what, I'm going to promote this guy. You got to be a shining star, right? They've got to see something in you. They say, you know what? I think it's time to give him a position to move him up to another level. We don't know. This could be the audition for that next level, that next job in the kingdom. Do we take it and do it wholeheartedly and love it? Or do we haphazardly deal with it? I'll show up when I feel like. The choir is awesome. But the choir didn't get where it was without Emmanuel showing up, fighting for the fact that she knew it could be better. Even though there was people who showed up, you could look at their demeanor and it's like, why'd you even show up? And then what happens? That feeds into everybody else. You're going to suffer for that. You will suffer for that. You might not think it's going to happen, but you are also having an effect on Yahweh's servant. What did it say? If you go into war and a man is afraid, you leave him behind. So the same way, if you come in with a bad demeanor, you should have stayed home. But you say that, or I say that, and people will be used that as an excuse. Well, you know, I had some problems on the job today. That's why I didn't show up. I'm sure you had problems before going to the job, but you put a smile on your face and you went to that job. So why you can't put a smile on your face and come and do Yahweh's work? And you might find that before you leave, you truly smiling from within. Because once you get around the saints, and this energy and this power from all the saints overcome what you've got going on, then you're on a whole nother level. I watch it. I see it. We are servants. Go ahead.
I think
that was it, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to Matthew chapter 4. And we're going to read verses 18 through 22. Matthew chapter 4, verses 18 through 22.
And Yahshua, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simeon called Cephas, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he saith unto them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men.
So when you were called in and you said, man, I found the truth, who called you? Did Yahshua call you? And what were you doing? Whatever your gift is, come on in. And I'm going to amplify that. They were fishermen. He said, I'm going to make you fishers of men. He called you in, hey, come on in. You're a backup singer. I'm going to make you lead singer one day. Drop what you're doing and come on in. These brothers didn't hesitate. Go ahead, read, my brother.
And they straightway left their nets and followed him. And going on from thence, he saw other two brethren, James and the son of Zebedee, and Johanan his brother, in a ship with Zebedee their father, mending their nets. And he called them, and they immediately left the ship and their father and followed him.
So we heard straightway, and we heard immediately. No hesitation. Called for service. Dropped what they were doing and answered the call. Let's go to Mark chapter 2. I mean, we have different departments And brothers may be given a chore to do, and you hear all kind of excuse of why they can't get it done or why they didn't do it. And then you'll see people who walk through the door, and they might see some brothers going to pick up a table. Before you know it, they're right there on the other end holding the table. It's like, boy, this man come through the door working. There's many departments. From I came around, the children's education was mostly sisters. Young brother came through the door, and he's not as versed as most of us, but hey, I'll teach. I look at that, and you know what he's gaining? He's gaining the skill and ability to be able to teach this word, not just to children, but to other brothers, other sisters. He's getting his practice and his training with the children. So what it's doing, allowing him how to speak this word in its simplest form. That's where we lose most people, because we don't know how to speak it in its simplest form. And then you have others who only teach in that department because they children in there. What are you called doing? If you're in the hallway and somebody say, hey, brother, what do you think about joining the choir? Sometimes you think that's a question. It's kind of being voluntold before you volunteer. And that's what I see. Most of us need to be voluntold. We don't volunteer. We all have gifts. It might be 5, 6 years you know somebody, and then you sitting there, bro, I didn't know how you know how to do that. You know what the excuse is going to be? Well, you didn't ask me. You also didn't tell me. So obviously you didn't come through wanting to serve. Go ahead.
Mark chapter 2, doing verse 13 through 14.
Yep.
All right. And he went forth again by the seaside, and all the multitude resorted unto him, and he taught them. And as he passed by, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting at the receipt of custom, and said unto him, Follow me. And he arose and followed him.
Notice that all these people that he is being called are not unemployed people. They all have jobs. And this man is saying, come, follow me. They straightway just leaving their jobs. But what we do is the opposite. We straightway let the job dictate how much we put into it versus what we put into Yahweh in Yahweh's house. This service, this servitude. And it's funny, it's still called service because Sunday, what we used to do on Sunday morning, where we used to go? What was it called? Sunday service. Well, what kind of service was really going on? Praise and worship. Who requires praise and worship?
The devil, I guess.
So let's understand what we was doing on Sunday morning then. Right?
Yeah.
We finished with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go to Judges chapter 13. Judges chapter 13, and we're going to read verses 1 through 7. You know, I hear all kinds of excuses from people. Oh, I'm going through something. I got to get myself together, and then I'll be back. And I keep sitting there, and I say, okay, I wish you all the best with that. And they quick to say, I think Yahweh putting me through something. Oh, really? Righty. Maybe you putting yourself through something. Because you ain't waiting on him. He waiting on you to make a move. What it says, take care of the things concerning me, and I'll take care of you. But we keep flipping that around. We want to take care of ourselves, but yet still expect Yahweh to take care of us while we taking care of ourselves. That's selfishness. Go ahead, my brother. Judges chapter 13, and we're going to read verses 1 through 7.
And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of Yahweh. And Yahweh delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren, and bare not. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto the woman, and said unto her, Behold now, thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive, and bear a son. Now, therefore, beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto Elohim from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. Then the woman came and told her husband, saying, A man of Elohim came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of Elohim, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told he me his name. But he said unto me, Behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and now drink no wine nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazarite to Elohim from the womb to the day of his death.
Now, we know this is talking about Samson, right? From the womb, he's being called for service. But look who has to change their life because of an unborn child. So I guess at some point she's being put into servitude too. Because the service that you have to provide is what you put in your body, which is then going to have an effect on my servant if you don't follow what I said needs to be done. But Samson is the servant. Let's go to Psalms chapter 105. Psalms chapter 105, and we're going to read verses 1 through 15.
Oh, give thanks unto Yahweh. Call upon his name. Make him known his deeds make known his deeds among the people. Sing unto him. Sing psalms unto him. Talk ye of all his wondrous works.
This is service. These are things to be done. Call upon his name. Make known his deeds among the people. His deeds includes you being able to talk about what he's done for you in your life. Not just about what we read in the book of how he parted the Red Sea and how he had Moshe do all these plagues, or how he delivered us by Samson. Make known his deeds among the people. We've got to be able to tell what he's done for us. But then the same question is, what are you doing for him? Go ahead.
Glory ye in his holy name. Let the heart of them rejoice that seek Yahweh. Seek Yahweh in his strength. Seek his face evermore. Remember his marvelous works that he hath done, his wonders, and the judgments of his mouth. O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, ye children of Jacob is his chosen. He is Yahweh, our Elohim. His judgments are in all the earth. He hath remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, which covenant he made with Abraham, his oath unto Esaac, and his oath unto Isaac, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant, saying, Unto thee will I give the land of Canaan, the lot of your inheritance. When they were but a few men in number, yea, very few, and strangers in it, when they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people, he suffered no man to do them wrong. Yea, he reproved kings for their sake, saying, Touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm.
All right, let's go to 116, Psalm 116. Start that at verse 1.
I love Yahweh, because he hath heard my voice and my supplications, because he hath inclined his ear unto me. Therefore will I call upon him as long as I live.
Can we actually reflect to see what Yahweh has done for us and put ourselves in a state of understanding what we owe him? He doesn't owe us anything. We owe him. Sometimes you should sit down and look at the course of your life in your childhood and look at the dangerous situations that may have befallen you and how you escaped, or you think you escaped, on your own merits. And realize that maybe he's had his hand on you for a long time. There's conversations and stories, and I, for one, I'm thankful that Priest Esaac is willing to put his life in his classes, because a lot of us will not talk about our past. But it's like I hear some of the stuff and it's like the parallels are so funny that I just sit there and I just go off into my own world. Because there's a person who, he recently said it, didn't expect to live past the age of 21. Then you got to start backing up and say, okay, first, what gave me that thought process? But then when you reach that milestone, why did you bring me this far? Then it's that, what do I do now? So when you come and you've gone through Christianity and you've gone through this and you've gone through relationships and jobs and all the trials and tribulations, then all of a sudden it falls in your lap, this truth, do you ask yourself, what do I do now? Now that I've got this, what do I do now? Scripture says there's a man that found a precious jewel, or the word is like a precious jewel. What he did, he sold all he had. I can relate to the not living past 21. And yeah, I then had to ask myself, okay, you kept me alive this long, what do I do now? And then you go past all that, and I guess at that point you don't really look at limitations of life anymore unless something just comes out the blue and you're like, wow, I should have been dead right there. And then you hit the 50 mark and you start complaining about the aches and the pains, realizing that, nah, that's still a blessing because you passed 21. But how do you show gratitude for where you've been brought to? Let's all reflect on the friends that we used to have and see where a lot of those people are and see what the relationship is like with them and how many of them are still doing the same old, same old. Then ask yourself, why you? Like he said in many classes, I tried to do wrong, but Yahweh just wouldn't let me perfect wrong. Always somebody there in the midst of chaos. Always in the midst of chaos. That's why I figured I wouldn't live to see 21, because I was always in the midst of chaos. I can remember vividly one day of 3 guns being pulled on me in different altercations. So you figure, hey, at some point, somebody's going to. But are we like Samson, where the servitude was already placed on us? Us not knowing. Or are we that parent that has that child that we need to bring up in the right way? Because that child is going to judge Israel. Go ahead.
Verse 3. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the pains of hell gat hold upon me. I found trouble and sorrow. Then called I upon the name of Yahweh. O Yahweh, I beseech thee, deliver my soul.
And at that point in time when we going through this, before we got in this word, we were calling on somebody. It wasn't on the name of Yahweh. But Yahweh was gracious enough to still hear us, even though we weren't calling on his name per se. Who's as foolish as my servant? Go ahead.
Gracious is Yahweh, the righteous, yea, our Elohim is merciful. Yahweh preserveth the simple. I was brought low, and he helped me. Return unto thy rest, O my soul, for Yahweh hath dealt bountifully with thee. For thou hast delivered my soul from death, mine eyes from tears, and my feet from falling. I will walk before Yahweh in the land of the living. I believe, therefore, have I spoken. I was greatly afflicted.
Now, verse 9, I will walk before Yahweh in the land of the living. I will walk before Yahweh in the land of the living. But yet you got people always wanting, I'll die for this. I'm willing to die for this. It says, I will walk before Yahweh in the land of the living. Yahweh is the Elohim of the living, not of the dead. Why won't you live for this? Why won't you live this? Instead of still residing in that simplicity. What it says, verse 6, Yahweh preserved the simple. We were all at that point of simplicity. That was simplicity when I thought I would not live to see 21. That was my simplicity. But now that I've been brought to this level, I will walk before Yahweh in the land of the living. Go ahead.
Verse 11. I said in my haste, all men are liars. What shall I render unto Yahweh for all his benefits towards me? I will take the cup of salvation and call upon the name of Yahweh. I will pay my vows unto Yahweh now in the presence of all his people.
Servitude, verse 12. What shall I render unto Yahweh for all his benefits toward me? What shall I give my Elohim for all his benefits toward me, for all the things he's done for me? I will pay my vows. You said it out your mouth. You want to be a part of the choir, then be a part of the choir. You want to be a part of the maintenance department, then be a part of the maintenance department. What does that mean? Learning all the aspects of the maintenance department, not being wait to be told what to do because your name is on the list. There's many aspects of the maintenance department. There's many brothers that know different skills, or you just happy being the man and say, you know what, I cleaned the counters. Hey, Brother Mikhail, I see you putting up light fixtures. Can you explain to me what's going on with that? What are you looking for? How do you do that? What is important? Hey, Mother Leah, when we done with choir practice, I noticed you go back and you're back there with headphones on listening. What are you listening for? Hey, Elijah, I noticed you turned off one of these mics. What was the purpose of that? Then what does that do? That makes you well-rounded in that department. So if a situation comes up and Imalael has to step away, she can say, you know what? That brother or that sister has come around and asked enough questions that, you know what, I can get them to go ahead and lead the choir this Sabbath while I'm unable to be there. But if we just show up and I'm just happy to be in my stead, put me in front of the mic. You stand and lip sync and we think you singing. Do you ask questions? Hey, brother. Hey, sister. I noticed you keep hitting different ranges. What is that all about? Something simple as breathing while singing is important. But if you don't ask someone, you don't understand why you run out of breath. I listened to an interview, a guy was talking about he's watching this other entertainer. He also gets on stage and entertains. He's like, man, I go up there and I do one song and I'm huffing and puffing. And this dude is 13 songs in and he's still fresh. And he said one day I just looked and he was going and he did this. And he said, right then I got it. Breathe, idiot, breathe. He said, I'm out there trying to get all the words out and run around and not breathing. Not understanding why I can only do 2 songs and this man on a 13 set. And honest, take advantage of the people with the skills that you see. Because unfortunately, they might not always be around. Sad to say, they might just be a contractor. When the person is gone, did you get all that you could from the contractor? Anybody who's working a business setting where they hire contractors, no, the contractors get it worse than the actual company man. If you don't believe that, go down to the post office and you understand why your mail is missing sometimes. I've worked in the post office as a contractor and gone into a bin and saw a piece of mail stuck in a bin that was in there for about 10 years. So who is still waiting on that package? But as the contractor, I realized one thing. They kept humping us, working us, working us. You go by the break room. The hell them? Oh, those are the people that's supposed to be working with you in your department. But guess what? They company people, so there's but so much they can say to them. You the one they trading off. Hey, I need a forklift driver, so you think you can give me that guy right there so I can get a forklift. What? Yeah. I need him to go to this other department so they can send me this guy who's a forklift driver, because I'm short my forklift driver tonight, but I know he's also a forklift driver. Oh, wow, for real? Honestly, it happened to me, and I was like, you know what? I'm out. I don't feel well. Contractors get it the worst. But did you get everything out the contractor before his contract was up? Go ahead.
Verse 15. Precious in the sight of Yahweh is the death of his saints. O Yahweh, truly I am thy servant. I am thy servant and the son of thine handmaid. Thou hast loosened my bonds. I will offer to thee the sacrifice of thanksgiving, and will call upon the name of Yahweh. I will pay my vows unto Yahweh now in the presence of all his people, in the courts of Yahweh's house, in the midst of thee, O Jerusalem. Praise ye Yahweh.
Hallelujah indeed. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 49. Isaiah chapter 49, and we're going to read verses 1 through 7. And more than once we heard that brother say, I will pay Yahweh my vows. And for all that brave the cold, and may Yahweh add and see it as a work of servitude and add a blessing on to you. Because I know there's some people that it's too cold and just decided to stay home. But hey, servants got to keep serving. This was going to happen even if it was just me and the reader. Even if that reader decided, somebody would have read.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken, ye people. From far, Yahweh hath called me from the womb. From the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name. And he hath made my mouth like a sharp sword. In the shadow of his hand hath he hid me, and made me a polished shaft. In his quiver hath he hid me, and said unto me, Thou art my servant, O Israel, in whom I will be glorified. Then I said, I have labored in vain, I have spent my strength for naught, and in vain, yet surely my judgment is with Yahweh, and my work with my Elohim. And now saith Yahweh, that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him through Israel, to not gather, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of Yahweh, and my Elohim shall be my strength.
See, verse 5, and now says Yahweh that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him. Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of Yahweh, and my Elohim shall be my strength. From the womb. We all grab hold of the name of Hebrew Israelites. Israel is a servant from the womb. But who are you going to give your service to? Where do you give your service? Go ahead.
And he said, It is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to rise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserve of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth.
Do we understand that we have work to do? Yeah, this is talking about Isaiah. This is Isaiah talking. But we as servants, do we understand? And he said, it is a light thing that you should be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the preserved of Israel. We have not been preserved as yet. Or restored, I should say. We have not been restored. So there's still work to be done. Go ahead.
Thus saith Yahweh, the Redeemer of Israel, and his Holy One, to him whom whom man has despised, to him whom the nation abhorred, to a servant of rulers, kings shall see and rise, princes also shall worship, because of Yahweh, that is faithful, and the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose thee.
All right, let's go to Romans chapter 9. Romans chapter 9, and we're going to read verse 1 through 6.
I say the truth in the Mishiach. I lie not, my conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from the Mishiach, from my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of Elohim and the promises, whose are the fathers, and whom, as concerning the flesh, the Mishiach came, who is over all, Elohim blessed forever. Amen. Not as though the word of Elohim hath taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel.
So, how do you present yourself? Israel is a servant. Children of Israel are servants. But we were meant to be servants of Yahweh. We look up here and it gives the breakdown of what is on us. To whom pertains the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of Elohim and the promises. So if you want to understand what your job entails, there it is. But let's go a little bit further. My brother, can you give me the definition or read the definition there for adoption?
Adoption, G5206, Uyathesa, from a presumed compound of G5207 and a derivative of G5087, the placing as a son, that is adoption, figuratively Christian sonship in respect to Elohim, adoption of children of sons.
So the adoption, when we talk of the sons of Elohim, what does it say? There's two connotations when it comes to the sons of Elohim, right? You've got the angels, and not just any man, the righteous. Right? And even outside of that, those who want to come into Israel's tree are what? Adopted into it. But guess what? Even with the adoption, Israel has to adopt you. Right? Because you can't come into the tree without going through us first. So we understand what we have there, what we're dealing with. You can't get the adoption without going through the children of Israel. You can't just come and take over. You have to be adopted into this. But everybody thinks they can go around it. We'll see. But that is one of the charges given to the children of Israel. Give me the next definition there, my brother, for glory.
Glory, H1926.
The word is hadar.
From a presumed, hold on, that's gonna be, from H1921. Magnificence, that is ornament or splendor, beauty, comeliness, excellency, glorious, glory, goodly, honor, majesty.
Do we present ourselves in this manner? Do we carry ourselves in this manner? Do we uphold our Elohim in this manner? Give me the definition for covenant, please.
Covenant, H548. Emna, feminine of H543. Something fixed, that is, a covenant, an allowance, certain portion, sure.
All right, that was covenant, but that was the Hebrew definition of covenant. Give me the next definition, please.
Covenant, G1242.
From Greek, this is the Greek's definition.
Diathenki, I think that's how you pronounce it. From G1303, properly a disposition that is specifically a contract, especially a divisory will, covenant, testament.
So, covenant. A covenant was made between the children of Israel and Yahweh. A contract. Give me the definition for law, please.
Law, H1881, doth, of uncertain, perhaps foreign derivation, a royal etiquette or statute.
Edict.
Edict, status, commandment, commission, decree, law, manner.
All right. Now the definition for service.
Service, H5656. Aboda, okay. From H5647, work of any kind, act, bondage, bondservant, effect, labor, ministry, office, service, servile, servitude, tillage, use, work, wrath.
So, service, work of any kind. What are your works? When it comes to Yahweh, what are your works? Last definition there is promise.
Promise, H5088. Neder, from H5087, a promise to Elohim, also concretely a thing promised, a vow, vowed.
So what was the promise? What was the vow? All that you said we will do. We made a vow. At that point, we made a contract to be his servants. All that you said we will do. Get up and run across the room. How fast, boss? We did it for the masters, right? Motisa? Why should your servitude be any different for Yahweh? Exodus chapter 24 and verse 3. And Moshe came and told the people all the words of Yahweh and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which Yahweh had said, we will do. That's all we're going to do for this evening. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.